The fallout continues from Fire and Fury, the explosive book about the Trump White House. President, as usual, on offense, the author sticking to his story, and the rest of us just taking it all in and seeing where it goes from here. Then we'll take a look at the deadlines facing Congress, and there are many, and also how what happens there could impact people just about everywhere. Then Governor Cuomo, he's facing a lot of challenges, including the corruption trial of former top aide Joe Percoco. So the question is, why aren't any big-name Republicans or just about any Republicans stepping up to challenge him this November? Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin this evening with a fury over Fire and Fury. That's the book about the Trump White House. It's loaded with stunning allegations about the president and his people. Here's author Michael Wolff on Meet the Press yesterday with one of the more shocking parts.
It's not unreasonable to say this is 25th Amendment kind of stuff. This is, I mean,
did anybody say that in the West Wing to you?
All the time.
25th Amendment. They would bring up the 25th Amendment?
Yes, actually they would say we're not at a 25th Amendment level yet. Or they would...
It's alarming.
This is alarming in every way. And then this went on. Okay, this is a little 25th Amendment.
Now, for anyone who doesn't remember the 25th Amendment, I want you to think about what we're talking about. That's about removing the president here. It's a snapshot of where we are as a country. Wolff from the Today Show explaining how actual Trump's advisors feel about their boss.
They say he's a moron, an idiot. Let's remember, this man does not read, does not listen. They all say he is like a child. And what they mean by that is he has a need for immediate gratification. It's all about him.
Now, the president, of course, not exactly signing up to buy the book, and he had a response, of course, via tweet to Mr. Wolff's allegations in his book, and I'm going to read a portion of it. Quote, "The fake news mainstream media are taking out the old Ronald Reagan playbook and screaming mental stability and intelligence. Actually, throughout my life, my two greatest assets have been mental stability and being, like, really smart. I went from very successful businessman to top TV star to president of the United States. I think that would qualify as not smart, but genius, and a very stable genius at that." Again, that the president of the United States. Now, Wolff says he spent 3 hours with President Trump over the course of several meetings and also had incredible access to his people for several months. But the president, he's refuting that. Here he is at Camp David just yesterday.
Just so you know, I never interviewed with him in the White House at all. He was never in the Oval Office. We didn't have an interview. I did a quick interview with him a long time ago having to do with an article. But I don't know this man. I guess Sloppy Steve brought him into the White House quite a bit.
Sloppy Steve, of course, referring Steve Bannon. Now, the book is packed with little tidbits about Trump's personal life. It says he and his wife Melania have separate bedrooms and an altogether distant, if non-existent, relationship. It also says Trump doesn't let anyone touch his belongings, including toothbrush, because he's afraid of being poisoned. Also says he eats a lot of McDonald's for that very same reason. Also in the book, some shocking comments from Trump's top economic advisor, Gary Cohn. Fire and Fury says that an email that purports to represent Cohn's views without necessarily having been written by Cohn raises questions about how much longer Cohn will be staying. Quote, "It's worse than you can imagine. An idiot surrounded by clowns. Trump won't read anything. Not one-page memos, not the brief policy papers, nothing. He gets up halfway through meetings with world leaders because he's bored. And his staff know better. I hate the work, but feel I need to stay because I'm the only person with a clue about what he's doing." Taking direct aim, by the way, at members of the president's first family and also what he termed some of the sycophants surrounding the president. Now, speaking of Mr. Trump, he had a little fun with that excerpt yesterday. Here he is with the aforementioned Mr. Cohn.
And will Gary Cohn continue to remain?
Where's Gary? Is he here? He was here. Gary, come here. Did you hear the question, Gary, in this beautiful hangar that's freezing?
I did not, sir.
They said, will Gary Cohn continue or remain in the administration? I said, I hope so. Now, if he leaves, I'm going to say, I'm very happy that he left, okay? All right? Come here, Gary. Come here. Are you happy, Gary? He just passed a very big bill. I think he's pretty happy.
Yes, I'm happy. How's that?
Come here.
I should tell you, last week when he was asked, Mr. Cohen, how long he'd be staying at the White House, he says, I'm here today, I'll be here next week. That was the extent of it, but take that for what it's worth. Now, Trump advisors, they took to the Sunday morning talk shows yesterday to blast the book and blow smoke at Trump. Here is again the chief suck-up, Stephen Miller, getting into it with Jake Tapper on CNN.
Don't be condescending, Jake.
Stephen,
Jake,
the president and the White House.
The reason why I want to talk about
the president and the White House.
The reason why I want to talk about the president's experiences, what I've seen with him traveling to meet dozens of foreign leaders, with his incredible work.
Okay, you're not answering the questions.
No,
I understand.
You have 24 hours a day of anti-Trump material. You're not going to give 3 minutes for the American people to hear the real experience of Donald Trump.
There's one viewer that you care about right now, and you're being obsequious. You're being a factotum in order to please him. Okay.
No.
And I think I've wasted enough of my viewers' time.
You know who I
Thank you,
care
Stephen.
about?
As Republicans,
Hey, Jake,
lawmakers
you
call
know
for
who I
Attorney
care
General Jeff
about?
Sessions to resign.
By the way, CNN says Miller, after that ended, wouldn't get out of his chair. He refused to leave. He had to be escorted out of the building by security. You cannot make this up here, but that's the day and age we live in. Let's bring in the panel. We got the guys with us tonight: Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. You know,
We're staying until security.
Exactly. Yes, Anthony. Get the Anthony looks at me like I'm being serious. I gotta get ready to drag him out. No. It's amazing what we accept as normal now, right? I mean, I was watching that interview with Tapper, and Miller somehow, some way, this little twerp with no bona fides, who was the suck-up to Steve Bannon until Bannon went out, then he trashes Bannon in that conversation. Now he's attempting to create an alternate universe that I haven't seen people do before. And he's got the ear of the President of the United States. And he was right, Tapper, there where he said, you only have an audience of one. And that line can apply to so many things. Now, the 25th Amendment, that deals with the stability, the mental stability of a president and his or her capacity to run the country. Now, even if Wolff is a serial exaggerator, he said that conversation was rampant, Dominic, where people were talking about a man who doesn't read, who can't sit for any meeting that exceeds 10 minutes on issues of national and international security, economic, of any conversation. And his whole thing was he's like really smart. And because he was a TV star, that proved, among other things, that that's why he's here today. Listen, Wolff may not be king of credibility. I don't know the man from Adam, but I've gone through the book now because I got it, just like a lot of other people. There's random source quotes from people talking about Trump and the people that he surrounded himself with and just how much of a train wreck it is behind the walls on Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't know how we consider this just another week in Washington.
Well, the abnormal, to your point, has become very much the normal with this administration. And the unfortunate part is that we are doing so much damage to the American presidency that I don't know if the country will ever be the same again after this train wreck. That's all. We have to, at some point, Richard, we have to stop couching our words. And we try to be as objective. I'm saying these things objectively. We try to be as objective as humanly possible. It's a train wreck.
You know, I just want to say something. Going back more than a year ago, Dom, to be fair to you, you said people underestimate this man, meaning Trump, in his own peril, that his appeal was much better.
Yes, and it was. And I stand by that.
Yes. But you said not crazy, but crazy like a fox, that a lot of times. What has surprised you about what he has done? From the guy that you covered for 20-something years in New York, because people are talking openly about his mental capacity. What's surprised you on the negative side? Not his appeal to get elected, maybe, that I underestimated, but his ability or lack thereof since he's been there.
Intellect. from the private conversations and meeting with him. I just have to set this up so you understand what I'm saying. When you meet Donald Trump and interact with him, he comes across, I'm the man. And it just oozes off of him. So you don't get a chance to really observe his intellectual capacity because everything about him is, I'm the man, look at me, Dominic, all the women want me, they all love me, I've got a ton of money, wouldn't you love to have my lifestyle? He doesn't say that, but that's his attitude. So in covering him for a number of years, I never got to see his intellect. And when you're a businessman dealing with the business press, they report basically what you're doing, but the political press analyzes intellect, how you say it, and your meaning. And so it's almost like his slip is showing. We're starting to see that what we all went for and thought was there in terms of intellect, either dementia is setting in for this 71-year-old man, or he just wasn't as smart as he came off as.
Except being unintellectual and intellectually incurious isn't really the same thing. It's not close to the same thing as being mentally ill.
I think I know where you're going. It bothered me the most of what we've seen so far. I mean, who doesn't read?
No, I get that. I get that. And I wish the American people had a chance to know this before they made their selection back in November of 2016. It's been that long ago already.
It seems like 5 years,
it does. It really does. But that's why I get hesitant when talk of the 25th pops up.
Me too. It's pretty
because that's designed for a president who's incapacitated, and he's not incapacitated. He's arguably a bad president.
But let me ask you
this. He's arguably a bad manager.
And I agree with you 100%. So let's not go there. But how about this, Andrew? We know the MO by now. No matter what, there could be video or audio, as we saw with the Access Hollywood, he's going to counterpunch, okay? That's who he is. But in the last 72 hours, what, if anything, was said or done that worried you even more than what was in the pages of Fire and Fury?
Well, I think what's bothered me has been the sycophantic nature of his aides coming to his defense and playing up to the audience of one. I think the immature response from the president, I'm like really smart. You would have hoped that he might have taken the high road in something like this. Let me not just counter some of the points in the book, but let me show that I'm countering the points in the book through, this is a guy who said, I could be the most presidential guy since Lincoln.
He has the best words.
And he hasn't been. And so he's not trying to sell himself to the public. He's just entrenched himself. And I don't think he's doing himself any favors in terms of the future of his presidency or his chances for re-election going forward.
You know what it was? People said it, and I think it's true. Depending on your perspective, when the book came out, the scariest thing for me is it confirmed people's suspicions of him. And to that end, what does that say? But more than that, what bothered me was when I saw the address at Camp David, I wondered the Republicans standing behind him, and I saw McCarthy and I saw others there. You know how sometimes people fight to get in the frame when you're photographing a governor or or in this case a president, and people want to be in that frame because they want to show the constituents I was there? How many of those guys really wanted to kind of edge out of the video? And how much of it really is complicit? That you've allowed it to get to this point because you want a piece of legislation, you'll allow this. Now again, what I will only say to people is you make your own judgments about the book. The vast majority of it's sourced. Now, so people can say, oh, this Wolff guy flies fast and easy with the rules, he got a few titles wrong, but it's sourced quotes. Bannon hasn't denied a single word that was said. He tried to spin the context of a few things, but that's what he said. He said it about the president, he said it about the daughter, he said it about the kids, and he said it about other people that surrounded the president. To me, that's the part we're missing here. I'm not hearing denials.
And you're not going to, because how do you deny the truth?
And by the way, there's some audio recordings of some of this stuff.
Richard, here's why I say that this might be the beginning of the end. And I'm as serious as cancer right now. And I'm talking about his presidency. Because remember what Michelle Obama would do. And she was considered the former first lady. She was considered the hothead, if you will. Obama, no drama Obama. But remember what she said. I think she made the comment at the convention. When they go low, we go high. This president, President Trump, Richard, Rule 101, as you well know in politics, If the media's got you good or your opponent got you, you don't dignify it by responding. You ignore it. You make it go away. Poof, it doesn't exist. This president is responding 2-3 times a day.
He's helped book sales, that's for sure. Coming up next, though, it's not just about some of the rhetoric here. We're talking real consequences where we are in Washington right now, and I'm talking about the calendar. In the past, Trump's told the Dreamers, don't worry here, but now several 100,000 could be facing deportation. He's playing let's make a deal with their fate, and he says, you give me a wall, maybe then I'll talk. We'll be right back.